Masih ramai ahli kumpulan wang simpanan pekerja KWSP di wilayah utara iaitu kita didapati tidak mencapai baiki simpanan asas yang mencukupi iaitu sekurang-kurangnya RM240,000 apabila mencecah usia 55 tahun. Dan kita dapat saksikan antara pengarah KWSP wilayah utara Jeffrey Muhammad Isa berkata di Pulau Pinang terdapat 746,000 ahli KWSP namun hanya 199,000 atau 27% yang mencapai baki simpanan asas. Manakala 547,000 ahli lagi masih belum mencapai simpanan asas.
Okay, untuk persentase ini kalau kita tengok dulu secara menyeluruh Malaysia lah dulu yang disebut iaitu 29% ya, iaitu yang baru sampai untuk peringkat nasional lah 29% saja yang mencapai basic saving. Yang selebih lagi masih banyak lagi yang belum capai. So itu tanggungjawab kita, cabaran kita sekarang ni untuk kita sama-sama bekerjasama dengan pihak media ya, untuk kita sama-sama lah untuk membantu ya, membantu ahli di luar sana, terutama di sektor swasta ataupun informal sector.
Katanya selain tidak mempunyai baki kewangan mencukupi, antara cabaran utama lain yang dihadapi KWSP ialah perubahan trend pekerjaan ke arah sektor informal serta kadar penyertaan ahli KWSP beragama Islam dalam simpanan syariah yang masih rendah. Untuk mengatasi ini, beliau berkata KWSP berusaha mengadakan pelbagai program untuk menyebarkan maklumat serta mempromosikan mengenai kepentingan menyimpan. Setakat Jun lepas, terdapat lebih 2 juta ahli KWSP yang berdaftar di wilayah utara meliputi 4 negeri iaitu Perlis, Kedah, Pulau Pinang dan Perak dengan jumlah ahli aktif seramai 1.25 juta.
Alright, right now we'll be focusing on financial segment where I'm going to share you a data from RinggitPlus Malaysia with the topics of 2024 Malaysian Financial Literacy Survey, where this is an annual study to show how is the Malaysian financial habits, challenges and even outlook. If I can share with you, this is one of the data where we can see a respondent who saved more than RM500 monthly. We can see an increase on 2024 to this rate, which is 33%, which has increased from the year before, 2023, which is 29%. This numbers has shown there are many Malaysians, rakyat right now, they have more confidence with the reopening of the economies in the post-pandemic. We can see a lot of people are earning a lot more previously during the pandemic COVID-19, and we can see that financial well-being of Malaysian right now is increasing and we have less financial vulnerability. Next, we can see on how also a highlight on the woman. So we can see from this survey also is showing that a woman is less vulnerable in financially. We can see from this data, we can see a lot of women nowadays in Malaysia saves more than RM500 a month. This is an increase to this year, 28% from the year before, 2023, which recorded by 25%. And some of the women can survive more than 4 months without employment with the rate of 38%, which is also an increase almost to 40% from compare versus of the year 2023, which was recorded at 30%. And we can see many of the women, more than 50%, with specifically 54% women live paycheck to paycheck. Even though we can see half of women living paycheck to paycheck, but we can see there's a decrease in this rate previously compared to the year before in 2023, which was at the rate of 57%. And we can see more women are more confident right now and leading a very financial well-being has increased with 57% started financial planning for their retirement. This is definitely an increase from the year before 2023, which is also at the rate of 51%. And from the Ringgit Malaysia Plus also showing how's the financial habit about the digital. As we are progressing in the digital era, we can see that many people are encountering or facing scams and even fraudulent transaction. And from this data, we can see that almost 38, from the range of 38 till 50%, we can see that many rakyat Malaysia are very confident and aware of possible scenario that they might have to face from impersonation and fraudulent transactions. So we can see that the literacy financial within the Malaysian people has increased from this rate. And we can see there's also that 31% around the range of 30, more than 30%, somehow are very confident with the knowledge or with the potential scams that they will face. For now, we can see only a certain of 9%, 5 till 9% that are not sure and not aware, and their literacy of financial is very low. They don't know at all what are the potential scams that they might face. But this is some of the data that RinggitPlus will show what are some of the challenges, and we can see there's an improvement. We are moving to the right direction, but still there need more efforts to be addressed in this situation. And from this survey reflects encouraging progress in Malaysians' financial well-being and literacy levels, especially among women. However, as we advance toward becoming a high-income nation, it is essential that we equip the rakyat with the right knowledge and tools they need, not just to survive, but to thrive in the increasingly digital world. And that was said by the CEO of RinggitPlus itself, Yuen Tuck Siew. And for that, an honor, I would like to present the CEO of RinggitPlus itself to come join with me to look at the data and help us understand how is the Malaysian financial habits right now, what are the challenges and what are the future outlooks for the Malaysian. And I want to say thank you very much, YT, for joining me. Firstly, we want to take a look on this data that we have shared. What are some of the underlying economic shift that has shaped the behavior of Malaysian, that more can save 500 ringgit per month? How are the situation, current trends right now, are reshaping the financial behavior?
Great. Well, firstly, thank you very much for having me on the show and for helping us raise awareness about financial literacy here in Malaysia. I mean, we were very happy to see the increase in savings rates in 2024. And when we looked at our survey results, we actually asked our respondents, what are you doing, to help you increase your savings? And they gave us 3 main reasons. So firstly, they've cut back on discretionary spending such as eating out. They've also cut back on leisure activities. But actually, very interestingly, one of the main reasons they gave was that they're starting to track their expenses more closely.
So this is a very positive trend, and we hope to be continued. What are some of the measurement, or we can see, to sustain this growth, and what can we do?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I think we can look at, for example, at RinggitPlus, right? I think one thing that's very important to us is to continue to provide financial education to all Malaysians that's completely free, and not just for ourselves. We work very closely with our partners in the RMFLS. And we look at the results of the survey, and we create content and educational content to really target, what are the main issues Malaysians are facing. So if we look, for example, at this year, in our RMFLS, we are very lucky to have a broad range of partners across all areas. Right? So, for example, on credit scoring, we're working with CTOS. Right? They're our key partner in that area because it's so important to understand, how your credit score affects your financial standing.
These are the critical components that we should see if we want to address this situation, especially we want to counter more financial literacy moving forward. And also, despite increased savings, why do over half of respondents, based on this surveys, also remain anxious or dissatisfied with their we can say financial health, and what systemic gap are in the financial planning or even economic conditions might be contributing to this discontent?
No, thank you so much for raising that point. And in fact, this was one of the most interesting data points that we saw. When I discuss this with my team and the partners, I think I've got kind of 2 or 3 broad views. I think one interesting thing to note is that although broadly Malaysians are doing better when it comes to financial literacy, there are still some pockets of uncertainty. Right? So, for example, we noticed that for Malaysians earning more than 10,000 ringgit a month, their saving rates are actually dropping year on year. So, as Malaysia progresses towards a high-income nation, we believe it will be increasingly complex and challenging to reach all the different segments, which is why it's so important we continue to do what we do. But at the same time, I think it will be very interesting to keep an eye on this statistic, because, as we go forward, Malaysians will continue to improve. I believe we'll continue to see improvements in financial well-being, and it might be the case that actually it's that around 55% of Malaysians remain anxious. It might just be that, culturally, that we're always quite worried about our money.
And talking about this, looking at this statistic, and given that 86% of Malaysians have experienced fraud attempts, and what advanced measures should be prioritized to proactively protect them?
Oh, that's a great question. I think one positive thing, though, was that we saw that although I think the number of Malaysians that have experienced or encountered fraud is still very high, it did drop year on year. And when we asked our respondents, how are you prepared against financial fraud? What should you do? I think 56% of our respondents actually credited the Jangan Kena Scam campaign with helping them avoid becoming victim of a scam. And when you think about it, the Jangan Kena Scam campaign has only been around for about 12 months, and yet it has effectively reached and helped over half of its population. And then when you actually drill down into what the banks are doing, we had Alliance Bank, excuse me, Alliance Bank was one of our RMFLS partners, and they shared the fact that essentially what they're doing is they make sure that across all of their channels of communication, right, whether it's digital or traditional, they make sure that they're actively educating and communicating with their customers to help them become aware of what could be, what does fraud look like, right? And if you do see fraud, what happens? I think that's a really interesting strategy because, even though Malaysians are becoming increasingly digital when it comes to their financial services, the banks make sure that they're communicating through all channels, right? Whether it's when you walk into a branch, you can have leaflets. When you receive your statements, there'll be education there via SMS or in the app. So I think it's very important that the banks continue to communicate across all channels to all segments.
And it's good we can see the effort and the actions being taken for the financial institutions, agency, but how can they work together to help this proactively?
Well, I think actually, when you take a step back and look at the data, I think actually when you look at what the banks are doing and the regulators are doing, they've done a great job, right? They've had fantastic results over the first 12 months. So if you ask me, I think they should just keep going and keep doing what they're doing. Continue to communicate on all channels, right, and reach all segments.
And definitely you can share what are some of the current challenges that need immediate actions.
Oh, wow, that's a huge question. So I think if we go back to why RinggitPlus, why do we run this survey every year? And there's kind of three broad areas which we want to understand. Where we want to understand how Malaysians manage their money, how well they understand their financial products, and how are they saving enough, essentially. So I think on the positive side, we've seen that Malaysians are saving more. But when we look at how well do Malaysians understand their financial products, and I think this is one area where our work will never be done. Right? But both ourselves at RinggitPlus and with all of our partners on RMFLS, we will continue to ask our users, where is it that they need the help, right? Where do they need to be better educated? And then we'll work with our partners to create the content, to create the educational content that's required to make sure that Malaysians do continue to have better understanding of financial products, that we do empower our users to make better financial decisions.
And from this data also, we are seeing that more than achieving that almost 50%, that a lot of rakyat Malaysia right now, they are more confident, they are more aware towards possible scenarios or situation that how can they get scams or fraud by the other culprit out there. So maybe you can share with us the effectiveness because from this report, they also mentioned credited to the program with anti-scam campaigns. How effective has the Jangan Kena Scam awareness campaign been in reducing financial fraud, and what else for us to upgrade on this?
Well, I think Jangan Kena Scam campaign has been extremely effective. Right? Within the first 12 months, over half of our respondents actually credited that campaign with helping them avoid become a victim of fraud. I think it was around 38% of our respondents also said that they encountered less fraud year on year, which means that actually the amount of attempts, the amount of fraudsters that are trying has actually gone down. So it looks like both areas, right, in terms of education is helping, but also enforcement is helping as well. So I think broadly we are on the right track when it comes to combating fraud.
And we also want to take a look on financial habits and saving. What kind of current trends that a consumer can adapt, or what's something that we can learn?
So I think let's look at two areas here, right? In Malaysia, I think we're very lucky to have an organization like PayNet, right, which is one of our partners in RMFLS this year. I think we with things like Do It Now, with things like the national QR code system, it's so easy for us to move all of our transactions to digital. And when we do that, we can actually track all of our expenses within the apps, right? Whether you use a banking app or an e-wallet app, you can use these apps to track your expenses. So I think that's really the first step towards taking control. And then beyond that, at RinggitPlus, something which is very important to us is we want to make sure that it's easy for Malaysians to not just understand their financial products, but also to access their financial products. And that's why we have a fantastic WhatsApp application chatbot for all your financial product needs. And within that chatbot, we have a recommendation engine, right, that's powered by credit scoring. So if you come and apply for a financial product, if you want to buy a financial product, we will actually look at your financial standing and we recommend the best product that's suited to you.
Maybe during pandemic COVID-19, we see there's a difference on how consumer behavior and trends. And from this data is showing that increasingly more Malaysians are saving more than 500 monthly post-pandemic. In between talking about financial literacy, they usually think of these three things: saving, investment, and even spending. So from out of these three component aspect about financial literacy, which one is more important, and how do we navigate and balance all of these three aspects?
Oh, that's a great question. I think I'll look at it this way, right? I think in order for you to save money, you have to have a good understanding of where your money is coming in and where it's going out. So I think tracking your expenses is absolutely key. And then after that, in order to save money effectively, you should make sure that you really understand where you're putting your money. I think when you look at investments, you also need to understand, what are your goals, right? How comfortable are you with risk? But I would always start with the basics, which is, okay, where's your money going? Are you keeping track of it, right? And then after that, you look at making sure that you're well educated before you actually do anything with your money.
And we want to take a look also on the data. With the topic shout out to women, we can see they are increasingly financially literacy has increased among women in Malaysia from their saving, financial planning, retirement, and even depending on their day-to-day jobs, paycheck, and they can also survive more than 4 months. And we can see this is a very good number for women, especially in Malaysia. But addressing this, despite this improvement, maybe you can share with us what are the remaining vulnerabilities for Malaysian women in terms of financial stability.
No, that's a great question. So I think we were very happy to see that broadly, in almost every metric, Malaysian women have improved when it comes to financial well-being. But actually with our partner this year and our insurance partner in RMFLF was FWD. And one thing we noticed with them is that unfortunately insurance coverage rates have not increased. Right? So although when it comes to savings and investments, it's getting better, but not insurance. And insurance is very important, right? Especially from a company like FWD where they're good value. You need to make sure that you also protect it against things that the unexpected. So I think that's definitely one area which we'll be working closely to improve.
Right, we can see that we are living in a very speed growth of digital era, and right now we can see Malaysia and nationwide are embracing the digital tool. But we can see one of the trends right now, people are going to social media with these short form videos from 30 seconds to 1 minute or 1 minute to 3 minutes for their education awareness instead of going to a legit agency or financial advisor. What's your comment on this, and how can you give advice to them? How can they navigate between false information and true guidance?
Oh, that's a great question. I think this was a trend that we started to see last year in 2023, and it's actually increased in 2024. I think on the one hand, it's positive that there is a channel that's easy to reach our users on. Right? Our users have been very clear. They've told us, look, where they want to go to social media. Now, because more consumers are going to social media when it comes to wanting to learn about financial services, to us, the clear message is, look, it's more important than ever that RinggitPlus continues to work with our partners to create content, and not just to create content, but to make sure that content is easy to understand and that they can consume it where they want to be. So for you rightly pointed out, a lot of videos nowadays are only 30 seconds, right? And although that's a challenge, we also see that as an opportunity. Right? How can we educate our consumers to make sure they learn everything they need to know within that 30-second video?
Maybe my last question, what's your future outlook for Malaysian financial situations, scenario? What kind of trends will you foresee moving forward?
Well, I think one of the undeniable trends that we're very positive about is the fact that Malaysians are increasingly turning towards digital financial services. We look at the digital banks that are launching. Over almost half of Malaysians already have a digital bank account, and soon we'll have new digital insurers. So that's extremely exciting for a platform like RinggitPlus, as the largest financial comparison site, to have more digital banks and more digital insurers working with us. I think it's very good for Malaysians.
Right. Again, I want to say thank you very much to CEO of RinggitPlus, Yuen Tuck Siew, for helping us understand the overall of Malaysian financial habits and what are the challenges that need to be addressed and what are the future outlooks and trends that we need to take a look at. Again, I want to say thank you very much and hope to see you soon. Thank you very much.